You're listening to MMA Minefield on the Donttap Network.
Hey, welcome to another edition of MMA Minefield. I am here with Cody Chovancek of NTT Niagara TopTeam. Brother, it is a pleasure to have you on. I know that we played sort of cat and mouse, and usually during fight week, me asking you last minute during fight week to get you to jump on. And finally to get you on, it definitely is an honor. It's been an honor to see you in the cage. Pretty extensive amateur career yourself, and then obviously in your pro career, right now you're sitting perfect 5-0. Welcome to the Donttap podcast, aka MMA Minefield.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to finally get on with you and do this.
All right, brother. Let's chop it up right now. I know that you have a big contest coming up against Harley King, but I wanted to talk about the camp that you're coming from right now, what it is to be at Niagara TopTeam right now, and I was even actually looking at past reels of old UFCs, and I saw an old UFC that I was at. There was only two Canadians on the card. There was Mitch Gagnon and Sean Pearson, and nobody else on the card at all that was Canadian.
Yeah,
If you look at the UFC card coming up in Toronto, it is stacked from the top to bottom with Canadians. Sure, a couple of the main spots soon to be had for Canadians in the future. But what does it mean for you to not only see that, but then also just the momentum of your gym? The amount of wins and loss record is ridiculous at NTT. 1 second. It's okay. You went in and out. The wins and loss record over at NTT is absolutely ridiculous over the past couple of years. And just the camps, like the high level camps, what does it mean for you, the momentum, and talk about momentum, and if that is really a real thing that you see in the gym?
Yeah, momentum's definitely a thing. That's something I always talk about at the gym too. Everybody's always getting ready for fights, so the room's always intense. Somebody's always getting ready for a fight. Right now, it's me and Xavier, right, like this week, but then in the coming future, Jazz, Mike, Siri. So there's always those fights coming up, and it keeps the room intense, and everybody's can feel that, And then when other people are fighting, your teammates are fighting, we're in the back, and we're always in that, in that culture. I feel like we're always in the back, we're always in that experience. So it just keeps the pace high, and that momentum just keeps going.
And it seems like obviously a win would definitely put air in the room and carry some big momentum going into a Monday. But even a loss with certain people that have been there in the past, like, at the stage, Jasmine has a loss, and then all of a sudden you see some wins on the team, and it's like, I would imagine that things just step up, whether it's win or loss. It's like your team just sort of picks it up and keeps going. And that's what everybody seems to be. It's just like, you know what, you keep rolling and keep moving. This is something that you don't understand, because you have a perfect record right now, and for you are on a tear right now, man. You put pace and pressure on people that is relentless, and I don't know if it's a tribute to your work and conditioning as much as it is also maybe just a natural attribute you have. But talk about that relentless pace that you can put on people and carry your power late in rounds at 145. It's crazy.
Yeah, I just want to put on a show for the people, right? So I'm always trying to be an exciting fighter, but at the same time, I want to be technical and get that guy out of there, and put a show on for the people. But just being a mixed martial artist in itself, at one point in my career, I just want to knock everybody out, but now I just want to be technical, hit without getting hit, take the fight to wherever I have to take it, just to get the W, and to make it like as clean as performance as I can. But
just with the respect of your opponents, man, like you have that, like even if you measure your power, and I'm sure you sort of have to pace that all the way through a fight, but you seem to get that respect right away, and it sort of throws your opponent back on their heels. And once they start pressing on their heels, they just already don't realize that they've already played into your hand, and now you're just sort of picking your shots and doing what you need to do. So it's awesome to see, man. Your last fight was just dope. So you knew I was messaging it. I was like messaging you afterwards. It was great job. So
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate it.
So for yourself, I know that with UFC Toronto coming up, the momentum in the gyms is just actually boiling over like crazy. What is it in your camps in the past little while where you've seen some big gains? Obviously, you don't want to let up too much info out there to your opponent.
Well, I'm always training. Sorry to cut you off there, but
no, go ahead.
Big improvements. Like I'm always wrestling, I'm always doing jiu-jitsu, but even in every aspect, I'm still improving so much every camp or every day. just being consistent, working hard, and like you see those little gains every day. Maybe not every day. Like maybe some days you're like, oh fuck, that was a tough practice. But there's days where things just click. Even just watching people go, and then or hearing your coaches explain something, and something just clicks, and you've learned. That's why my coaches are always preaching, even if you're hurt, like be in the gym because you can learn something on the sidelines. But yeah, just throughout this camp and previous camps, I'm just getting better and better. Like I'm nowhere close to my peak yet, but I'm excited for this fight for sure. Like I'm feeling the best I've ever felt for sure.
Nice. And speak a little bit more to that, actually, about from camp to camp, because guys and the wannabe cappers, myself included, I guess we'll say, and all the guys that have channels where they're breaking down fights and everything else, some a little bit more knowledgeable than others, but they don't really get what it is to go through camps, what it is to the growth in fighters, especially around your age, man. Like the growth in fighters is absolutely astronomical from camp to camp, especially in the gym that you're at. So talk a little bit more about that, like the growth that you do see in yourself and how that's been.
Yeah, just like my gym preaches like consistency and hard work is a big thing, and everybody's in the gym whether they have a fight or not. So you're consistently growing. My camp's more or less like, okay, now we're picking the training up a notch, and we're focusing on certain aspects. Okay, what's this guy good at? What did I do wrong in my last fight? What can I improve on? What do you do good? What can you add to the game? And yeah, there's just a lot of things that we've been working this camp that's really helped me grow mentally, along with building certain things physically, I guess too. It felt like it was a little more mental, but just going out there, like my last fight, yeah, I got the unanimous decision win, but I really wanted to get that guy out there. I wanted a highlight reel knockout, but you can't really force those things. Those will come with just playing the game. I have good eyes in my striking, and when you force things, they're not there. If you like play your game, and the openings will come. It's a mixed martial arts fight. I'm ready to mix it up wherever, if I got to take it to the ground, or even if that helps set up my other stuff.
And is that probably the biggest lesson you took from your last fight? It's more let the fight sort of, obviously you want to put yourself in there and impose your will, but sort of let the fight unfold organically rather than try to force an outcome.
Yeah, for sure. It was my first fight on UFC Fight Pass and stuff, and I'm still semi-happy with some of the things I did in that fight, but like really trying to get that big knockout, and everybody said it was like they were excited about the fight. It was fight of the night.
It was a pretty hype fight, man. Like you were landing quite a bit of
yeah.
You could tell you were trying to get him out of there, right? So I mean, you're not going to get everybody out of there at times, and you had no reason to feel away. Now, when you do walk away and you sort of look at that first thing that you want to pick apart or dissect, or look the negative after a fight, is it sort of a challenge for you right now, or is that what happened in this camp where you said, okay, no, how do I turn that into a learning spot? Or is that coach right away, Prickett's on you right away, or DMark's on you right away? How does that work for you with it?
Yeah, they've been there saying it too, or like we all had a mutual thing about it, but it's something I've really been focusing on. It's like, okay, I've almost done it before in my camps too, where I'm like, or in previous fights where I'm like too hungry for it, and you just gotta let those things happen, and they'll unfold. You don't gotta kill every shot, and I was like watching the Song Yadong fight and Gutierrez fight this past weekend. Like first round, Buddy's just trying to knock him out with everything, and Buddy's seeing it, right? So you got to mix it up, and that's something I can take. I was happy I can take away that from a win. Like I got the win, but I'm also learning something that's been crucial, and it's just like a mental thing too, right?
You get the lesson for free, essentially, instead of on a loss. So that's 100% the way to do it, man. Keep winning. You can be unsatisfied at points, and that's just the perfection of wanting to be the best, right? So nothing wrong with that. Talk about your opponents. Your opponent, Harley King, and a couple of wins inside the distance. nothing really jumped off the page to me. But you talk to me about your opponent and what your opponent brings to the table.
Well, he's well-rounded. He's got knockout power. He seems to be more of a grappler, I'd say. But he mixes it up well. He looks a little stiff on the feet to me, and yeah, like I think he's gonna end up shooting for sure. I might even end up shooting. Like it's a mixed martial arts match, right? So anything can. I'm gonna mix it up in there and play to my style, make him fight my fight, and yeah. But to him, like I'm not looking. He's definitely a game opponent, and I think this will be my toughest fight yet.
Yeah, he definitely.
And I'm taking it that way. I treat every fight like I'm gonna fight the best guy, right? So.
Oh, you would have to 100%, man. The first person you underestimate is the first person to catch you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So 100%.
I haven't seen. Did you see his last fight with the Devin Lozay guy?
I didn't get a chance to tape anything yet on his fights. I actually still want to check it out afterwards before I put reels together for you. But I didn't get to see the last fight, no.
No, I didn't see that one yet either. It's not on the Fight Pass or YouTube or anything yet. But that's his most recent fight, and it went all 3 rounds. So.
For yourself, if you're looking at, I see online a lot, and obviously some of your sponsorships sort of speak to, who you are and things that sort of you're passionate about. If we were in a tribal setting, there's no, like a hunter-gatherer setting, you would be 100% the guy that would be hunting, the guy that would be the warrior out there, the guy that would be leading the charge, because that is all in your wheelhouse. You're the fisherman, you're the hunter.
Oh, I'd be out there fishing, providing food, man, and doing what I love. I love fishing, and I just recently got into hunting this past year, and I can tell it's going to be a lifelong passion for me there too. So, yeah, it's just, it goes hand in hand too, I feel like, with the sport, with the culture anyway. And fishing and hunting is a great way to get out there. It's not physically exhausting. I can go out there and relax, and it's kind of like my time to like find peace,
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be your nature, sort of you like going out, and I know Ashley's talked about just going on nature walks, going on runs, and being outside in nature, and that's sort of her way to the juxtaposition to the intense training all the time. I can imagine you sitting out there waiting to you shoot a deer, or out just sitting waiting for a bass, or sitting waiting for a pike. That's just get time for you to just sort of turn it all off and tune into what you're doing right there at the moment, right? So
for sure.
What else is that? So that like is fishing, is that something that's been in your family for a long time? Is it sort of the outdoors has always been ingrained in that, or is that something you sort of picked up as a young kid?
My dad's side, they got me into it. Like they brought me out fishing a couple times, and then I just was hooked from like right away. And I lived like where I grew up in Petrolia, and then I lived in Corunna for a bit. It was right on the St. Clair River. So my mom would go to work and she'd drop me off. She'd work like 10-hour shifts, and she'd drop me off at the river, and I just fish all day.
Nice.
For summers straight. So I was hooked, and I've been hooked ever since. That's why I'm the best fisherman in MMA. These other guys are taking everything I worked for, man. Trying to say that.
Pardon the pun.
I'll prove it though.
You were hooked. Man's got some dad jokes. And it's worked out for you though. I mean, that's like one little niche sort of thing you sort of diversified yourself with, and now you have sponsorships because of it. And that sort of worked out well for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to represent companies I really I have faith in, and I really like trust and use. And to that, I only like one company per whatever genre it is, right? Like I don't want to represent two fish companies or 2 car places, because I really have faith, and those are the companies I actually use. So yeah, it's worked out good. And like in the fishing hunting world, there's only so many guys doing it, like crossover. If a fishing company's going to sponsor a guy, and there's 1,000 guys that they all catch fish, but there's only a couple guys fighting on UFC Fight Pass, if only one. And I catch fish too, right? So one day when I open up my own fishing charter, that'll be the business model too.
It's smart, dude. Carry that branding with yourself all the way through, so you can make it a business for yourself, and there's multiple ways you can make it work for yourself. So it's a brilliant way to do it for sure. what I wanted to ask you about too is, and you've been a huge part, and I've talked about you, I've talked about Tisha when it comes to Jasmine, and talked about the work. And I know there's way more people that have put in some work with her. But she's gone through, she's fought so much in the past, 2 years, and ups and downs, but the growth and the gains is insurmountable. No one can really deny it at all. And you were a huge part of that, and so was Tisha, I know too. Talk about Jasmine. Talk about what you've seen in her, and I know that the last one she didn't get the win, but I think she broke her orbital in that first round, and she just plugged on through. What a badass she is. So
She's
talk
a
about
fucking
Jasmine, and
badass, man.
someone you bleed with.
Oh yeah, she's a badass. She's one of the hardest workers I know, and mixes it up really well. And killer striking, killer wrestling, great on the ground, obviously. Like, yeah, she's just super dedicated, consistent, and hardworking. Like, you look at any of the high-profile fighters at the gym, they have those two things in common: consistency, and they work hard. And Jazz has got that dog in her. She really likes to fight. I like the analogy, like there's two types of dogs: the dog you gotta push out the door, and the ones you gotta pull back on the leash. And like you can point out guys and be like, okay, which one there, And yeah, she's definitely one you gotta pull back on the leash. She's
Dude, she just
she's a
presses forward.
savage.
She doesn't know anything else. Like,
Yeah.
no, I didn't. No one noticed that happened to her in the first round. Like
No.
we knew there was potentially damage or something. She had taken 1 or 2 shots with some hooks, but she just kept pressing forward.
Yeah,
she's a
tough as
badass woman.
nails. Tough as nails for sure.
And that was one thing that I noticed over the past year and a half. I would say her striking is like it's
Crisp.
leaps and bounds way better than where it was even 2 years ago. So
she's got really sharp punches, mixes it up well in the striking too.
And now you also have your teammate Tisha fighting as well too. Talk about Tisha. I know that he's going to want to have a bounce back spot here. Losing a close decision. Talk about Tisha.
Tisha is a savage too, man. We work together so much. Like, he's the whole reason I'm at Niagara TopTeam. We started sparring together, and then I went out to the team, and then boom. Ever since, we've been training together. So it's cool to see, like, over the years where we both made that progression. And he's another guy that mixes it up really well. His striking's nasty. He's got really tight technical boxing, mixes up the kicks well, and he's got killer wrestling and jiu-jitsu too. So, and he knows how to mix it up well, and he knows how to show up on fight night. He's a guy that performs best under the lights. Same with Jazz, and I think same with myself. When it's just when it's time to show up and get the job done, we all get it done. So.
And speak about the actual, even I know a lot of people come from a Muay Thai background, but then if you look at it, the chain wrestling that comes out of that gym, the wrestling that comes out of that gym, the work that goes into that. Talk about that even in your own game and how that's come a long way.
Well, I think it's the most important martial art in mixed martial arts, right? Like, if I'm a striker, I want to keep it on the feet. You got to have good wrestling defense. If you're a grappler, you got to get the fight to the ground. And early on, you see that a lot where grapplers, they want to get the fight to the ground, but they don't have good wrestling. You even see it in the UFC sometimes. But
still, not sometimes. You see it quite a bit.
Yeah. And it's huge. Like, my first bunch of amateur fights, I think of myself more as a striker, even though I started with wrestling. It's just, I guess it's a huge part of it, and it just builds that, like, just to know how to push through. Wrestling's a tough sport. It's grindy, you got to really build that cardio. It's a different cardio than striking, depending on, I guess, what type of striker you are, but.
Okay, now what I want to do is to finish it off. Usually I'll get someone just when I do a reel to cut like a little promo, just more or less saying when their fight's coming up and whatnot. But before I do that, it's a sort of a fun card coming up. Top 3. Actually, no, we'll do up to the Ian Gary fight. You don't have to do any breakdowns, but just picks for it if you're up for it.
Yeah, for sure. Just remind me what fights. I was just looking at it earlier. But.
Yeah, you don't have to do any breakdowns for it. If you want to add a little bit of tidbit in, no problem. So we'll go with the main event first. We got Leon Edwards, Cody Chovancek.
I think Colby's gonna take that just by pressure and just really smothering him. And but Leon, he's a killer too, and you can never count the guy out, right? So, but yeah, I think Colby takes that.
Shavkat Rakhmonov against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Oh, that's a tough one. I was just watching some Shavkat. He's pretty sick. Mixes it up obviously well, and but he does get tagged, and Wonderboy fucking has power. So
he did get tagged quite a bit in that last fight. I was thinking the same thing. Shavkat got hit quite a bit.
He doesn't move his head a lot.
Sort of up a little bit, like
yeah. He doesn't move his head a lot. He's got that tall stance. He kind of eats him coming in, but I'm gonna go Shavkat because I think he just gets it to the ground and probably subs him.
Josh Emmett and last-minute replacement Bryce Mitchell, who's favored in this fight.
Bryce Mitchell's a favorite?
Yeah.
Bryce Mitchell is fucking sick, but that's a tough fight, man. For Emmett's got some serious power, and Emmett's got good wrestling defense, right? So I think Bryce is going to be trying to get it to the ground the whole time, and Emmett's got pretty solid wrestling defense. So yeah, I think Emmett's striking is a little closer to like Topiria's style with like a lot of big hooks and just really big bomb shots, and Ige's a lot of straight punches and stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Emmett on that one. Sadly, I hope Bryce wins, but my gut's telling me Emmett.